That's if you use the description of what we came to here in Matthew chapter 24, verse 29 there, and Mark 13. He's talking about the harvest time, which is the end of the world, and that's the specific thought that he's addressing there. So. Okay, so we're clear then that ever since the Second World War, and as we studied this in the lesson last week, did you notice that Sister White actually gave the First and the Second World War? And did you see that where is it now? That was on under question 6. Yes, under question 6 on page 5.
Top of page 6.
Yeah, on top of page 6. That's in volume 1. She actually describes there. She saw the war, bloodshed, privation, want, famine, pestilence were abroad in the land, and she describes that. And then she said there was a little time of peace. And then, again. So she's plainly describing the First and the Second World War as we look back. She's looking ahead. And this when I first came across that statement, I thought, wow, I wonder how many people really understand what she's talking about, And that's why I think it's very important that we identify that after the Second World War, it says there that men's hearts were failing them for fear, for the things that are coming, yes?
I just want to come there because you guys have always been happy with the understanding of this World War I and II, but we weren't, and so we went in the study and did some research because the statements were that strife, war, bloodshed, and famine and pestilence raged everywhere. So strife fits World War I and II, so does war, so does bloodshed. But famine and pestilence, we went and looked those up to see, and in World War II we're specifically looking, and World War II caused multiple famines around the world as they shut off supply chains in different countries, and pestilence was well spread. So I do think that this does fit World War I and World War II.
So you've done some research. That's very helpful. Yes, to me that was as obvious as it can be, because even after the First World War there was pestilence, there was the Spanish flu.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And there was
Dutch hunger winter.
polio.
The Dutch hunger winter? Or was that in the
You know, that was one of the famines.
Right.
There was about 5 major famines
Yeah.
through World War II.
So after World War I, there was the famines, there was the Great Depression.
Yep.
After World War I.
Yep.
Right.
Great Depression, there was not enough money and people starved all over the world.
So these are all items identifying that what we've been reading and what we read in Sister White's time since 1844, all these different prophecies were already unfolding. And we've got futurists today who are looking future. They don't realize that these things have already been happening. And that's what our study is about, especially in the beginning of the lesson, so that we can understand, hello, harvest time started a long time ago. The wheat and the tares are already harvested, being harvested. And this is what we're looking at, that day will catch people unawares.
Sorry about that. Sorry, we've had weeks where we've just been, one of it has been 6, 6, 6, 6, so that's why we haven't been here. But in that question 1, under the Lisbon study, anybody who hasn't done it, go back to the Great Controversy and find the original quote. And if you read it, there's several pages there
That's it.
which expand on this in a lot more detail and make it much, much clearer that Lisbon earthquake definitely is the 6th seal.
That's right.
I hadn't seen that before. It's very, very clear, but it also, in there, she explains a whole lot more detail to really brought it to life. So, you and I haven't read a lot of these Ellen White quotes, so I was really blessed, and I
You recognise it.
Thanks, Dad.
Okay, so we are looking at the generation that Jesus is talking about there, that shall not pass, in having come to the Second World War, 1945. It's closed, and then the trees shooting, and that's
That'd be Israel.
the trees shooting. We went into detail here that the trees that were shooting was not just in reference to the comparison of nature, but also
The Jewish nation.
This is where it confused me, because the verse, so Matthew 24:32 through 34 says, "Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and he puts forth leaves, you know that summer is nigh."
Mhm.
So summer is near. So this is where it confused me, because I seemed to get out of the study that from 1844, the harvest was starting, yet in 1948, that's the fig tree putting forth its leaves. So the harvest
I
is
think you
summer
ran
is
ahead.
near.
You ran ahead there, because you remember that was the quote here, that they were already shooting in the 1800s.
Yeah. They restored the Hebrew language in the late 1800s. It was dormant for 2,000 years.
Look at a note under question 4. To many Jews throughout the world, a Jewish nation in Palestine seemed the best escape from the religious persecution they often faced in other lands. During the 1800s, in the hope of establishing such a nation, so the tree was beginning to hope for it, right? Such a nation, Jewish immigrants began arriving in Palestine. They drained the swamps, irrigated deserts, sank wells, and planted forests. Farm settlements appeared, and useless land became fertile. By 1948, the Jews had become strong enough to declare Israel independent. So the fig tree was already shooting in the 1800s.
And
So
the
it's really-
Bible says that Egypt is the fir tree and Lebanon is the cedar and Israel is the fig.
That's right, and we went into that in Ezekiel too. So in Ezekiel it talks about Assyria being a big tree, and then all the other trees underneath it, and then so all the other nations under Assyria. Right? So these are all clear parable presentations, the parable of the fig tree and the parable of the nations. And the nations at the end that are weak, that aren't even nations, but became nations, like Israel. Was India a nation with armies beforehand? It was not until they got their independence in 1948.
Colonies of England.
Yeah, they were all colonies, and in Africa, they all were colonies. And then after 1945, they began to shoot.
East Timor finally became independent in the late 90s.
That's right. So there's all those fulfillments there. Let the weak say, what we read in Joel, let the weak say, I am strong. And it's interesting when you studied what we did there in Joel chapter 2 and 3, that Joel was mentioned, in Joel it talks about the former and the latter rain. And when is the latter rain? Just before the harvest, isn't it? All right. So it's all interlocked as you study that through. And here in this Sabbath school lesson, we couldn't go into all the detail, but we're covering it as succinctly as possible. So, so that's where we concluded then that the summertime started in 1844, continued through to its final harvest. All right.
Wheat harvest. Wheat harvest starts from late spring and goes all the way through summer into early autumn.
Exactly.
Depending on the year.
Yeah, and much to think about on that. So people who say, oh, don't separate the wheat from the tares, wait until the harvest, they're way behind the moon. Okay, so today we will look into the new lesson. As in the days of Noah, we will see more detail of the seriousness of the time in which we're living already, and what we should do to make sure that we are not going to be caught with outside the ark, not inside. So what's the objectives here? To gain the lessons Jesus tried to convey for the benefit of the last generation from the days before the flood, and to observe the connection between the closing of the door of the ark and the shut door of Matthew 25:10. Now that's an important thing. This shut door, when did the shut door start? Wow, there's so much to think about here. And then to appreciate the meaning of the coming of the Son of Man. So we know exactly what Jesus meant. Now, this is the important to study what Jesus meant, not what people think he meant. No? So, how does the Bible in question 1 describe the condition of society that provoked God to send a flood? So, what are some sharp pointers that were mentioned there, both in Genesis 6, 5 to 7, 11 to 13, and then Matthew 24, 38.
Or just a part out of Genesis 6:5, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and his heart was only to do evil continually.
Yeah. Every imagination of the thoughts of his heart. Every imagination of the thoughts of his heart. Only evil continually.
Both man and beast and creeping things.
Say that again, sorry?
Both the man and the beast and the creeping things.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it?
So the earth was filled with violence.
Yes. So, and Jesus brings the point home. As in the days of Noah, what were they doing? Eating, drinking, giving in marriage, living for the indulgence of their appetites. Right? That's eating, drinking. I mean, nothing wrong with eating and drinking, but what he was referring to is the indulgence of appetites and passions. So, anyone want to identify anything more in the note that just really brings that point home?
Lawlessness was rife, and every conceivable sin was practiced. The earth was filled with violence.
Lawlessness was rife. Yeah? Just think about that for a moment. What is lawlessness?
Transgression of the law.
Is it?
It's complete disregard.
Disregard for the law. Right? Iniquity is lawlessness. Sin is the transgression of the law. Lawlessness is living without it. Right? And so,
It's everywhere.
That's very
and that isn't that even in the churches today? The 10 Commandments are being partially accepted, but you know, Sabbath is nothing, and thou shalt not kill. Go to war. Don't worry. Marriage, it's all lawlessness. So we're in a real repetition of the days of Noah. And did it catch you by surprise there in the, what Sister White is saying? There's a lot of argument about that particular quote on the top of page 9 there. But if there was one sin above another which called for the destruction of the race by the flood, it was the base crime of amalgamation of man and beast, which defaced the image of God and caused confusion everywhere.
Can you expand on that?
Can you expand on that?
Well, I've heard people say that back in Noah's day they were doing like joining, like breeding, whatever they were doing. But like now we've got like pig parts being inserted in heart transplants. Is this the?
Or are you
Have
talking
a-
about the sexual immorality aspect of it?
Well, you see, we've read that without the knowledge of that what we know of today. Today we know genetic engineering. And I don't know whether you've read it, I've read it, that they are actually genetically engineering animal and human genomes. They're doing that.
It doesn't surprise me, but what makes me curious is were they doing the same thing back then?
Yes.
So they had science to that.
They had science back there that was far in advance to when it was in my years. Now they're catching up. Yeah, there's science magazines that I have read that in India they saw machinery there in the forest under cover, in cages, underground, which was, as they came in, it was lit up. There was no electricity there. Machinery that was creating light, and so on. This was all identified there as scientific knowledge that they had way back that we don't even have today. And the light that was burning, they touched it and it was cold. All sorts of things that has been discovered. So don't think for one moment that those people of Noah's time were primitive. They were not.
We think the opposite, that they were way more intelligent.
That's it.
That's
That's it. That's it. So yes, it took man after the flood. It took man to go through primitive periods to build up to that same thing again now.
So it's taken them 1,500 years to get to that point. It's taken us 4,500.
Yeah, and they lived much longer than we did, besides, so that all adds together. So there we have, this is the condition today, which was the condition of Noah's time. Question 2, does the condition of society of the last generation prior to the second advent equate with the generation prior to the flood? We just want to get that really clear here. We've already identified it a little bit. But when Jesus said this, you want to be sure that he meant exactly what he said. Because what does he say?
But as in the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I mean, just that one statement should direct your mind correct exactly that what they can do today just before the coming of Jesus is what they did back there. And then the spiritual and the social declemency that is described there in 2 Timothy 3, 1-5. As in the days of Noah, they were eating and drinking, etc., etc. And the description that is for us today in the last days, can you identify with 2 Timothy 3, 1-5 as being like the days of Noah?
Perilous times shall come, for the men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to their parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection.
That's really descriptive, isn't it? I mean, today we've just about got used to it.
Just about.
Disobedience to parents is just normal. It's wherever you look. And disobedience to parents doesn't just refer to biological parents. It's disobedience to leadership. It's rampant. And then there was something in this particular description. It talks about without natural affection, that plain and clear today, isn't it? Truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent. What does that mean?
Lack of self-control.
Yeah. They can't control themselves. And that's exactly what the problem is, isn't it? Fierce, despisers of those that are good. Traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure. Now comes something very interesting. Lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness. So all that description applies to who?
Christians.
Yeah, those who have a form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof. Now, what are we to do with those kind of people?
From such turn away.
This is what people hate me for. They hate me for this because I'm teaching and I'm practicing to turn away from those who are so described. And this is a horrible thing, they say. How cruel you are, how unfeeling you are. But here it is. And when you really go through the experience of going all the way with God, and I mean all the way with God as God wants you to go, and those that don't want to go that way, it ends up with separation. That's what is written here.
I was told that recently that we need a separating, and that's
Can't hear.
that we promote separating here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes, Brother Darrell?
Yeah, I found that we don't actually need to separate ourselves from the world. They separate themselves from us.
If we are faithful. Yeah, that's right. And this is precisely what it is. It's not that, for instance, in my own situation, I had no desire to separate, but I found myself, just as you said, you get out of here. You get out of here. I don't want you anymore. That's the reality. That's what the world does. And those that are ignorant of that, they don't understand what's happening.
I found it really interesting. I had dear friends for 30, 40 years, and then suddenly a bizarre situation would come up, and I'd say, Lord, where did that come from? I didn't instigate this.
Mm-hmm.
And how did this happen? And yet I was ostracized, and they walked no more in the reality of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yet it does say, from such turn away. In other words, the scripture is telling us, don't hang on to them.
No.
It's basically telling you, because, we've got to continue to be loving and kind.
I think we've got to be very careful to make sure that there has to be, they have to fit this description.
Yes.
And they have to not be saying something that's true, because in both of our own lives, there's been plenty of times when we've been pushed out of places because we've made our own bed. So, and that's part of it as well. And what I'm reading here is this is not a description of when we will be pushed away by them. This is a description of, we are told when we see these categories in our fellow brothers and sisters, we are to actively turn away from them.
That is part of it. That's why I came back to it. But it is a sort of a dovetailing experience. It's, if you stand firm and true for what is right, it separates you. You can't avoid it.
Well, because it's the same experience as
As long as
Jesus.
you're doing what is
That's it, exactly.
Yeah, because it's the same experience as Jesus. He was consistent
That's it.
through his whole life.
Yeah.
And
he was
people
straight
came-
away
well,
ostracized.
people that came up against him either were drawn to him or they were ruffled by him. And
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. So
But because like for instance, when it comes to family, family is first. Family's first. But wait a minute, is God first or family first? That's the issue, right? And if there comes a point where children are disobedient to parents and the parents can no longer be the governing force in the home, what have you got? Absolutely, and you can't stay with chaos.
I don't agree with that. There's plenty of scriptures that say you are to sort it out.
Sorry?
I don't agree with that. There's plenty of scriptures which say you are to sort it out. So, I mean, there are always times in any household where things just turn to absolute chaos and you've got to find a way to make it get sorted.
If you can. And is what we're talking about here.
I disagree with this being applied into a family environment.
Well, Jesus said, didn't he?
That mother would be.
I have come to put sword. The families are going to be separated.
But what about the scripture where the father doesn't provide for his children, he's worse than a dog? So it's don't pick and choose. I don't see this being applied to a family environment. Obligations still stand, whether it's comfortable or not.
Okay.
This is
That's-
turn away from, but take this scripture here. I like what you said, where I had people are being covetous or boasters or despised of others, and then turn away, but I hadn't seen, and thank you for pointing it out, that having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof, I hadn't seen that this was actually inside the church. That does help, but I still wrestle that we're to turn away from the people.
Of course.
Turn away from the church.
So as we continue studying here in the whole lesson, this will slowly dawn upon us. It will slowly dawn upon us that the sword that Jesus talked about, especially for the time we're living in right now.
He says in Matthew 10, "For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's foes shall be they of his own household."
Yes.
This is correct, but it doesn't say to turn away from your household. The obligation still continues.
Okay, let's not discuss that. The point is we will, maybe as time goes on, as we keep on studying this lesson, because the 10 virgins is a separation experience.
But it's the ones who were not godly, they're the ones who are separating themselves away.
You'll see it. You'll see it as we study on, because we don't need to go into any long discussion on that, because the plain statement here that already has clarified to you, if the children are disobedient to parents and they have a form of godliness, etc., because this all belongs together. So let's go on reading here in the note now. Is not this picture of the antediluvian world reproduced in our time? Now, taking time and place. When does Sister White write that? In 1887. What? Already in 1887, it's been reproduced according to what she said there. If that's the case, what about now? Huh? Man has not grown more pure and holy, that's what Sister Caitlin identified, and holy since the days of Noah. His heart was not changed. It is still deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. The intense worldliness of that generation is exceeding by that of the generation now living. Wow. And so, if that's the case with her generation, imagine how it is now. And again, money is lavish, spent for costly houses, etc., etc. Fear for God is banished from hearts of the children of men, and his law is treated with indifference and neglect. Treated with indifference and neglect. That's the time we're living, isn't it? And it's really gone rampant. And then when it comes, this is the serious thing, that really a similar state of things exists now in the relation to marriage. Marriages are formed between the godly and ungodly, because inclination governs the selection of husband of wife. There is much detail in that. So when we read these statements, it's not just reading through, it's understanding what is meant. So now question 3. What similarity is revealed in both of these periods regarding the attitude to God's servants, warning of the impending destruction? Now, Noah was preaching, and what were the people doing?
Mocking him.
Scoffing, yes.
Walking after their own lusts, willingly being ignorant, and
Yes, good on you. That is the case. So they are scoffing. Oh, Jesus is coming. Oh, that's been long discussed. And isn't it the case today? Seventh-day Adventists. How long have they existed for? Since 1848. Then they organised in 1865. How long have they been preaching that Jesus is coming? Oh, see? They thought Jesus was coming in their lifetime. Can you see the attitude? That's what's happening. And so, yes, and if Robert was here, he would say, yeah, he's met it. I don't know, you probably heard him say before that his brother-in-law as a minister is preparing for retirement, and he's only he's far from retirement right now, but they're planning for living on some more yet. And so the description of what we saw there in 2 Peter 3:3-7, yes, that's what you identified there, just willingly ignorant of the days of Noah. Yeah,
Which question you got?
that's under question 3. And anything else that you'd like to draw our attention to that was so meaningful to you?
Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from
There it
the
is.
beginning of creation.
And I can see, I've thought that in years gone by, and I've had fellow brothers and sisters basically say that to me. And
Yeah.
it's like, Earth.
Yeah.
And it's such a hard one because it's something I still wrestle with. How are we supposed to be in this world, paying our bills, building houses and all this stuff that we're going to do, because we know that we're trying to raise the boys. We know Jesus is coming soon. We don't know the hour or the day. We don't know if it's 2 weeks or 2 years or 20 years. How on earth do we live so that we are covering all bases? Because and it's just such a.
Do you know the words of Martin Luther on that one?
Please teach me.
If Jesus was coming tomorrow, I would still plant a cherry tree today.
Jesus says, occupy till I come.
Yes.
Something in the note, did you already go through Matthew 24:48-59?
No.
Oh, yeah, so about the evil servant smiting the faithful servant and declaring that Jesus delays his coming, and how that's the weeping of gnashing of teeth. That doesn't apply to people in the world. It applies to Christians that are expecting to be in heaven but are not, because the door is going to get shut on them, and how that leads into the parable of the 10 virgins.
Very important that you identify that, because this is what we've got to, what we're studying now, and this is the way with all the lessons that I've prepared. What we're studying is connected with the next, is connected with the next. It's that picture that God gave me. I can see the picture, and it's a whole picture, and you've got to throw a stream of light onto one point. Now you've got that, and then connected with the next and the next and the next. And that's what we've got to do as we keep on studying. Don't forget what we studied, because it dovetails into everything else.
Can you explain that cherry tree? Still, please plant a cherry tree. Can you explain this
Right.
scripture for
It's Martin Luther was trying to tell us that if Jesus was coming tomorrow, I would still keep on doing the things I have to do now. So in other words, I would still plant a cherry tree today. If I knew he was coming tomorrow, it wouldn't stop me from doing the things I have to do to keep looking after myself.
The best way we reconcile it is that we just do what we can to provide what we need to here, knowing that it's all going to be taken one day,
Yeah.
it's all going to be destroyed. So don't have our hearts in it.
That's the point.
Just, it's what we need to do to prepare for the time we can't by itself.
Yeah.
But it's all going to go. It's not where our safety comes from.
Yeah, Brother Simon, you will.
Yeah, I think what it means is you still live your life as a Christian every day, and you're still a good witness to others in the community. You don't turn into a hermit and go and live in a cave and stop doing your responsibility, like John says, sharing the gospel to others. So you live in your life as a normal person, even though you know Jesus is coming.
Right.
You still need to share your witness to others rather than, hide away somewhere and
Yeah, become a hermit.
useful in society.
Okay, Brother Dunn.
I think the key is better to be in the world but not of the world.
Amen.
Yeah, like with Enoch, because he was in the world, but he also was trying to reach them at the same time.
Right, yeah, Enoch walked with God in the midst of all those things. And this is something the Lord has taught me. That the danger of attaching myself to the good things I'm having here on earth attaching myself to them versus simply occupying. There is a relationship with Jesus that makes you do the things to have a proper home, etc., etc. You do those things because that is orderly, that is heavenly. But you're doing it with Jesus, not because you're attached to the things of this world.
Yeah, I started a job and I'm working with two people and I'm the contractor, they're permanent, they've been there a long time. And I sit there and scratch my head and I'm like, oh, I wish I had a permanent job, I didn't move around so much. And they were talking about their holidays, their wealth, and all of these things that they're enjoying. That is their total occupation.
That is their occupation.
Their income and everything, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, I don't feel well today, I've got to come to work, and, but I'm here, I just want to make, ends meet, and, it's really hard, but I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't have those thoughts.
So you can see what we're describing, what Jesus is describing here, is that people have got their hearts here on the earth. And those that do not, and that's where we come back to verse 48 to 51, because those ministers that are doing the correct message are being scoffed at, are being, smitten by their fellow servants, who are saying in their heart, my Lord delayeth his coming.
Yeah.
Yes, Brother Simon?
They did that in the 1888 Bible conference. They made fun of, not A.T. John's, Wagner, because he was a short man. They were making fun of him behind his back.
That's it.
And they were ministers in the 1888 conference.
Exactly.
And how much worse is it going to be?
Yeah. It's that subject about the 1888 conference is a very important one to understand in reference to what we're studying here, because Sister White writes in the 1888 materials that there was the separating of the wheat and the tares. Right there. Yeah. When I read that, I thought, yeah, this is such a strong proof here, because they were actually scoffing at those who were giving the correct message.
Yeah.
Back there. So that's all part of what Sister White wrote. It's in her time already, and even more now. Okay, so did you notice on the note under question, on page 10 under question 3, in contempt, 4 lines down, in contempt they declared the preacher of righteousness to be a wild enthusiast, and they went on more eager in pursuit of their pleasure. That's in the days of Noah. And how did God deal with them? He bore along with their wickedness, giving them ample opportunity for repentance. And now we come to our time, further down, when the professed people of God are uniting with the world, living as they live. Professed people, did you pick it up? Living as they live and joining with them in forbidden pleasures, when the luxury of the world becomes the luxury of the church, when the marriage bells are chiming and all are looking forward to many years of worldly prosperity, then suddenly, as the lightning flashes from the heavens, will come the end of their bright visions and delusive hopes. So now, you've got the comparison. Here they were outside, and Noah was building the ark, and they were scoffing. Same thing today. And then, question 4, when the great door of the ark was closed by an angel, did this represent the coming of the flood, although for 7 days nothing happened?
Yes.
Other Darren?
The 7 days that the door was shut before the flood came, how does that equate to us today?
Yeah. Is that 7 years?
The parable of the 10 virgins, because we're all in the wedding feast now, and the doors are closed soon, and the guests have been invited. And
Prophecy teaches us that a day is a year and a year is a
Yeah, but this is not a prophecy. This is just simply Jesus saying, as in the days of Noah. So we don't use that as a prophetic description, 7 days and 7 years. No, this is not a prophecy.
It's like literal language.
Yeah.
It's like the rules, 13 rules of William Miller. It's not speaking
Yeah, that's right.
This is a comparison to close
Can
probation.
you speak up, young lady?
It's a comparison to the close of probation.
Yeah. That's the issue. The shut door is the issue of the close of probation. And now, as we carefully go through this, the issue here is that life goes on. That's the note as well.
Yeah.
Life goes on. That's the issue. Yes, brother?
So the question, once again, I'll come back to it. When the door is shut, when Christ stops his mediation in the holy place, 7 days as to 7 years, is there a comparison here as to him coming behind the scenes and orchestrating?
The coming behind the scenes is over a year. It's the year of the plagues.
It's not a
So the
7
seven,
real.
No.
Right.
Um,
Says one
I'm happy with that answer, because I'd wondered the same thing, but you're absolutely right, there's not, because the 7 days is going to be 2,300 days, in whatever terms that it was given, but it's going to be, whereas this is a description, it has already passed,
Yeah,
because it's not a
So
prophecy.
when that door closed to the probation had closed, and although nothing happened, life went on. It's a comparison to when probation closes for us.
That's the
Life
issue.
will go on, and I think we all know the story of question 4. It's not complicated, but it's more the point when it comes to question 5.
Right.
John,
Can we just check
the
about
Block
question
The
4?
world didn't know when the rain would come, but the people were safe inside the ark,
Yeah,
and then they were mocking them.
yeah,
For 7 days they were reveling, partying, dancing outside the ark.
yeah.
The people were there, and they had to hold their faith.
This
And
is,
trusting God, because miracles had happened. The animals had gone in. No one had done that, and the door was shut. Right, and they had to keep holding on to those promises of God, no matter what the world was saying outside.
that's it.
The world didn't know when the rain was coming, but the rain was still coming.
Yeah,
They had to, inside the ark, they had to trust in God. That was the story.
right. This is the issue. Don't get caught up with the timing.
Don't worry about sevens and all the other stuff.
Yeah. Because this timing situation, figures are sometimes applied where they don't have any symbolism, and then other times when they do, they don't put the right symbolism onto it. You know, so it's very careful to understand what is a prophecy and what is just an event that describes an important lesson, because that's what this is talking about now. In the top of page 11. For 7 days after Noah and his family entered the ark, there appeared no sign of the coming storm. During this period, their faith was tested. It was a time of triumph to the world without. The apparent delay confirmed them in their belief.
Can I just ask a question here though? Because my understanding of the probation is that judgment begins in the house of the Lord, but the reality is that everybody's being judged. So it started with Adam, it went through Eve, but it's gone through all of the living, the dead people first. And then when it gets to the living, because God is orderly, my understanding is he judges the living in the church first.
Yes,
And they're sorted into sheep and goats,
That's right.
saved and unsaved. And then he goes through all of the living who are not in the church, because they've got to be tested to see whether they're going to be accounted or not, because all of that has to happen.
They're looking at our judge right now.
No, but they have to have their cases assessed, because otherwise they're going to be going to the secret
The
judgment.
dead man blame is not in
the investigative judgment is only for the people that are in the sanctuary
in
by
the
faith.
realms of the light.
When you read Revelation chapter 11,
Yeah,
leave the Gentiles out.
okay, so,
When he comes, his reward is with him.
Yeah.
I understand, and the second judgment is when they're having that, but the question I'm having here is that it's very clear to me that there is going to be a point in time, let him who's unjustly unjust, still let him who's holy be holy. There is a point in time where that line is drawn, and
Yes.
every living professed Christian
Mhm.
and Christian had their case sealed, and they're either saved or lost, and then time is going to go on for a period of time. So is there any problem with considering that could, because as in the days of Noah and Lot, this is the other side of the
Well,
world.
the interesting thing is that the close of probation is that those people who are plain Gentiles, who have not been judged in the as it says there, Yeah, that's, the judgment is for God's people in Revelation chapter 11 that I was talking about, that those people that are out are already judged. You don't have to judge them anymore.
She
But,
says that.
so I'm just saying, in the days of Noah, so what I'm questioning is, isn't it possible that when that line is drawn, let him who's unjust be unjust still and holy be holy still, isn't it possible that there's a period of time from there where life is going to continue on,
No.
and you've got the walking dead, like you called it, and everyone else is sealed, but there's that period, and where it's going to be like for Noah, where the righteous are going to be tested and taunted and things like that, but the cases are all sealed, the judgment's done.
Right,
So
that's right.
isn't it possible that that could be 7 years?
That what?
Isn't it possible that that could be 7 years? Because as in the days of Noah.
Let's leave the 7 years out. Let's settle that once and for all.
The names of
The timing has got nothing to do with it, because the timing of the close of probation is 1 year of plagues, and that is prophetic.
Okay.
That is prophetic. 1 day equals 1 year, and all the plagues will come in 1 day.
Yeah.
1 day, 1 year.
And then this is where I think we've got the Sunday law coming in.
That's it. Okay, so let's continue carefully through this now, because this is now the shut door. And when, and this is the part now that we've got to really understand. Come to question 5. Did Jesus show a parallel to this shut door in his discourse on the days of his second coming?
Yes. Well, this parable of the 10 virgins applies to modern Israel, correct?
Right.
And I heard a sermon of yours recently where you said that modern Israel is the foolish virgin. And I don't disagree with it, I actually agree with it. But you also say in the sermon, are you a foolish virgin? You don't have to be. Are
Right.
you a wise virgin? Join the bridal couple. So there's an onus on people in this period to take heed. And as it says in Matthew 24, that we're to watch and be ready, because in an hour that we don't know, the Son of Man cometh. And that's really applicable to everyone in Laodicea today, because things are futurised, they don't apply.
You see, question 5 connects you already with the whole subject of the 10 virgins. Because when the wise virgins have said, we can't give you of the oil, you have to go and buy yourself. They went and went somewhere else. But the wise virgins continued with the bridal party.
Yeah.
And as they came to the house of the bridegroom, they went in, and the door was shut.
Probation closed.
And that's it.
Probation was closed, and everything still continues. They come back and come to the door and say, hey, let us in. He said, I don't know you. Depart from me. So there is a principle here. It's those who are in, who have prepared themselves and who are the wise virgins are in, and the door is shut to the foolish virgins.
Because they're in the marriage
It's
supper.
shut both ways. They're shut in and the full shut out.
Right.
Yeah, but it's the point, where are they? Because I've spoken to many people recently about, are we in the marriage supper of the Lamb? And they're saying, no, that's in heaven. And Revelation 19, the future. They cannot even recognise we are in the marriage supper of the Lamb now.
Yes.
And although the procession is also moving and picking up wise virgins and they're going in.
Yes, yes, yes.
But you're actually in the procession. That's
Ever
what the
since
point-
now, let's follow this through very carefully, because the note under question 5 qualifies this.
Yeah.
When was the door shut in Sister White's time?
1844.
1888.
When they rejected the second mountain.
Oh, yeah,
When they rejected the messages that these people were giving. That was the shut door. Look at what you read here.
To them.
That's it. Here it is. While many are blaspheming and cursing their creators, others were frantic in fear, stretching their hands toward the ark, pleading for admittance. But this was impossible. God had closed the door, the only entrance, and shut Noah out. Now come across to the note under question 6. She sort of continues the same thought. There was a shut door in Noah's day. There was at that time a withdrawal of the Spirit of God and from the sinful race, etc. Looking down the stream of time to the last days, the same infinite power proclaimed through John. These things say, he that is holy, he that is true, that he has the key of David, he that openeth, and no man shutteth, and shutteth, and no man openeth. I was shown in vision, and I still believe that there was a shut door in 1844. Was there a shut door? Was the Noah's shut door applicable then already? And she says yes, because by rejecting the churches, rejecting that message, that was the shut door for them.
So this is the second angel's message.
Yes,
They rejected it.
yes.
First and second.
Because the midnight cry was Jesus going into the holy place doing the judgment. That was the midnight cry. And they were in a tarrying time.
See, this is all material that needs to be a background knowledge to help you understand
The
all this.
weddings then were different. They got married legally, but they didn't live together. They prepared for a year, and then they had a feast. And then
Yeah.
there was the consummation, and there was the procession to the feast, and then they feasted, and then the consummation, and that's the second coming. So we're in the feast.
Yes, brother. So
Yeah, so the second angel was all about Babylon, right? That's the-
Babylon has fallen,
Correct. So if you
but
stay-
and the first angel was connected with that.
Correct. So that was the invitation then to follow Jesus into the most holy place.
Yeah.
Start to understand
That's it.
his sanctuary message and the greater truth that the Adventist movement was trying to share.
Right.
If they chose to stay with their leaders, they would stay and be rejected.
Come out of her, my people.
Yeah, truth was moving forward.
And remember that the vision that Sister White had, that the faithful ones were going with Jesus into the most holy place, and the other ones were left behind, and Satan was taking care of them.
That was the marriage.
In early
The
writings.
marriage of bride.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
It's not consummated.
Okay, so you can see the comparison to Noah's time. They were in the ark, and here were a people from 1844 onwards who, as they were closing their opportunities to follow the three angels' messages and rejected them, the door was shut.
So there's hope for us that if we're accepting the
If you haven't rejected it in the first place.
and we're going forward, then there's a chance that we're in the wedding procession.
That's right.
So they're actually signing themselves up for their own
Exactly.
destruction.
So
They're
people,
closing the door on themselves.
that's it. People in the past who have already gone into the wedding, we are now, as the message comes to us, the bridal party comes past us.
Oh, we're in the procession.
We would go into the marriage feast practice.
Yeah.
But it's a comparison to the close probation, because, like, to be a...
You need to speak up.
To go from a wise virgin to the bridal party, you've got to separate. There's a
Yes.
separation there.
Yeah.
You've got to leave. You've got to leave the foolish virgins
Yes.
and join
Yeah.
the bridal party.
So therefore, what Jesus
I have a problem with that, because that's not what I see in the parable. The parable was you have the wise and the foolish together,
Sleeping.
yeah, and then you have,
Yeah, well, she's run ahead of it now. You're running ahead as well. We're coming to it.
okay,
That the Sabbath school lesson is dealing with all that. Now, otherwise, our time's running away. We've got to concentrate on what this lesson is about. This lesson now is telling us that if you're not aware that the closing of the door has been going sort of one after another through the history,
what is it, go through town, you go through door by door.
yeah,
So it has been closing.
it has been closing.
Remember, it's not us who close the door.
No.
That's it.
It's God.
Yeah, no,
So
but
we're either, as he's walking past and the light is coming past our
we either
doorway,
accept it.
we've either got the choice to accept it and we join in the
Right.
position and continue on, and we can still leave that position at any point if we decide not to accept some of the light, because light is, remember one of the others, lights from here, light is progressive, like the sun dawning over the thing.
So that's us opening the door to Jesus and
No,
actually
so
coming.
Jesus knocks, but it's, in this one I see it's not us opening the door, it is God who opens the door that no man can shut, and God who shuts the door and it is totally him.
But he works through the church, because it's the bridal party.
This is the important now. The churches had, their door was shut on them. They can't be retrieved anymore. They are Babylon. They rejected the message. Door shut.
They're dead.
But in those churches, there are people who've been misguided by their preachers who are still able to come out and see, oh, here's the truth.
And there's preachers who've been misguided by their churches.
Right.
So surely there'll be both.
So let's just conclude now with question 7, that in question 7, how do we observe the meaning of Jesus when he says that his coming is as a thief, when he also says that when he comes, every eye shall see him?
My understanding is very clear. There's 2 times when he's coming. He's coming once when the eyes aren't going to see him. He's coming with his garments dipped in the vengeance
That's it.
blood.
That's
Or
Revelation
when
19.
He's on the white horse, but he's coming to Babylon again to destroy.
That's it.
And then somehow he must be zapping back to heaven and coming back on the clouds.
That's it.
So,
So it's,
do you understand that?
Maybe after if you can.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen
7 horses.
there's multiple closes of probation. The door closes for people. like
Yes,
us.
that's
But
the issue.
There's also a door that closes when God's people receive the latter rain, when they're sealed in the forehead and they're prepared to give the final loud cry. Then probation closes for foolish virgins.
That's right.
And the loud cry is only going to be for those who've never heard the truth.
That's it.
But how does this fit in for there's the sealing of the 144,000 for giving the loud cry,
Sealed beforehand.
and they've got to give the loud cry so that the last of the people of the Gentiles can come out of her, because that message has got to be given. And there's a note we saw where Ellen was clearly saying that the latter message will not close with lesser power than the former one, so it's going to be massive. And this is something you guys still don't do.
You're looking far too far in the future. This massiveness has already been taking place and people haven't even
The
recognised
major
it.
harvest has already been done. It's the beginnings.
It's just the last little bits. When 1888 came, that was massive. And that message that came in the power of the Holy Spirit, people are looking for a massive impact on the world. No, the world won't recognise it.
They're going to reject it, and a lot of people say that thousands from the fallen churches are going to come into modern Israel.
And it's been taking place all through history.
It says that not 1 in 20 in the church have their names registered in the book of life that have their names in the church records, and she clearly says that when the shaking happens, that the majority are going to leave the churches, but not one seat will be left empty. So it's clear that, and when you go to the churches now, you can see that that's not even 5% of them are actually engaging properly with the studies. It is a process from the front to the back.
Okay, well, let's study this lesson carefully, because the rest of the lesson is going to explain all those things. All that we've got to concentrate on now is that you will be caught without your clothes on. That's Revelation 16. If you don't follow this carefully through, this is the seriousness of this particular lesson. The probation has closed for many people already. The shut door has already taken place. But the final close of probation is the one that's going to catch them so much by surprise, because they haven't been following the message.
Revelation 18:18 is not going to meet their expectations. It's not.
That's it.
And they don't even address it now.
Exactly. So our time has truly flown. Let us be upon our knees and indeed